Picture Wavertree, Liverpool. Rows of red brick terraces, washing lines strung across backyards, kids shouting over a scuffed football in the street. It's a slice of everyday life, familiar, noisy, alive. But step closer, feel the air shift. Conversations hush mid-sentence. Curtains twitch. Names are whispered, not spoken. This isn't just a neighborhood, it's a place gripped by fear, where James Lunt and his gang, WAVO 420, turned quiet streets into a shadowland of drugs and gunfire. From hidden cannabis farms to bullets shattering the night, their reign left Wavertree scarred, its secrets buried in plain sight. Welcome to Crime Pulse. If you're new here, hit subscribe and join our growing community digging into the UK's most dangerous criminal underworlds. Like, share, and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. In the early 2000s, Wavertree grappled with unemployment rates hovering around 10%, nearly double the national average, and its youth faced a stark choice: grind through low-wage jobs or chase faster paths to money and status. Liverpool's bustling port, a hub for global trade, also served as a pipeline for illicit drugs, flooding the city with cannabis, cocaine, and heroin. This criminal underbelly thrived in areas like Wavertree, where desperation and opportunity collided, luring young people into street life with promises of protection, thrill, or cash to escape the daily struggle. James Lunt, born around 1990 in the heart of Wavertree, grew up in this crucible. His childhood unfolded on streets that doubled as playgrounds and battlegrounds, where loyalty to mates was as vital as air. Raised in a modest terrace on Celandine Close, Lunt knew the sting of want. Meals stretched thin, hand-me-down clothes, dreams clipped by circumstance. Yet to neighbors, he was a paradox. A lanky lad with a quick smile who helped elderly residents carry shopping or volunteered at a Liverpool homeless charity, earning nods of approval. He had a good heart, one neighbor later recalled, but the streets got to him. Beneath this charm, a restlessness brewed. By his early teens in the mid-2000s, Lunt ran with a loose crew of local youths, their antics escalating from boyish mischief to calculated defiance. They swiped bikes from unlocked sheds, spray-painted crude tags on shop shutters along Picton Road, and loitered on corners, intimidating passers-by with jeers or stares. To some, it was just lads being lads. To Lunt, each act was a step deeper into a world where respect was earned through fear. By 2008, at 18, Lunt's minor rebellions had hardened into something darker. He began dabbling in small-time cannabis deals, selling £10 bags to schoolmates or local stoners in Wavertree Park, pocketing just enough to feel the rush of power. These deals weren't random. They connected him to older dealers, men with scarred knuckles and whispered reputations, who saw potential in his quiet cunning. He wasn't loud like the others, a former associate later told police. He listened, learned, planned. Lunt's early brushes with Merseyside police, cautions for theft and public nuisance, did little to deter him. Instead, they sharpened his instincts, teaching him to dodge surveillance and cover tracks. Around 2013, the name WAVO 420 began rippling through Wavertree's alleys and playgrounds. The moniker fused local pride, WAVO as Scouse slang for Wavertree, with 420, the universal nod to cannabis culture, tied to hazy April 20th gatherings. At first, it was a loose label, scrawled in marker on bus stops or shouted during late-night clashes, tied to a ragtag crew of about 11 teens and young adults. They were a mix of school dropouts, unemployed locals, and thrill-seekers, united by Wavertree streets and a hunger for status. Their antics, shoplifting from corner stores, harassing residents on the Picton estate, or brawling with rival crews, drew heat from authorities. Liverpool Council slapped antisocial behaviour orders, ASPOs, on several members, while Merseyside police stepped up patrols, logging complaints of vandalism and intimidation. Lunt, though not yet named publicly, was a shadow in this chaos, his role obscured but pivotal. He wasn't the loudest or the brashest. He was the one watching, learning how fear could bind a group and how loyalty could be weaponized. That same year, Lunt's trajectory took a sharper turn. At 25, he was convicted for conspiracy to produce cannabis, tied to a small grow operation in a Wavertree attic, its windows blacked out with bin bags. The setup was crude, 30 plants under flickering grow lights, but it hinted at his ambition. Sentenced to 3 years alongside his friend Lee Spencer Brown, a wiry local with a knack for deals, Lunt entered prison not as a broken man, but as a student of crime. Behind bars, he mingled with seasoned criminals, drug runners, enforcers, smugglers, who became his tutors. They taught him the art of encrypted communication, introducing him to EncroChat, an app where messages vanished like smoke, shielding deals from police eyes. He studied how to layer operations, using runners and stash houses to keep his hands clean. To prison staff, Lunt was a model inmate, earning trusted status for good behavior. But this compliance was a mask. He played the game, a former cellmate later said, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Released around 2016, Lunt returned to Wavertree, not chastened but electrified. Prison hadn't dulled his ambition, it had honed it. Cannabis, less policed than cocaine or heroin, was his path to power. A single grow house with 100 plants under hydroponic lights could yield £50,000 in weeks, and Lunt envisioned a network of such sites across Merseyside, each harvest fueling expansion. But Liverpool's drug trade was a brutal arena. Rival gangs, some from nearby Toxteth or Norris Green, guarded their turf with knives and grudges, ready to ambush or betray. To build his empire, Lunt needed more than weed. He needed muscle. Through prison contacts and street deals, he tapped into the underworld's arms trade. A Beretta 9000S, linked to 2010 shootings in Scotland, reached him via a shadowy exchange with a Glasgow crew, its compact frame ideal for discreet threats. And Uzi, its 600 rounds a minute raw tied to a 2012 shooting near Edge Lane, carried Lunt's DNA, a trace of his early forays into violence. A sawn-off shotgun, stolen from a Cheshire burglary and buried near his Celandine Close home, was his insurance policy. Hidden but ready. These weapons weren't just tools, they were symbols of a new order, arming WAVO 420 for a takeover. With a loyal crew forming and firepower secured, Lunt stood poised to turn Wavertree streets into his battleground, his descent complete and his empire within reach. James Lunt returned to a Liverpool underworld, bristling with danger. Rival gangs carved up the city's drug trade with brutal precision, while Merseyside police's surveillance, CCTV, informants, phone tracking, loomed over every deal. For a 28-year-old ex-convict, diving back into crime was a gamble that could spark a turf war or a swift return to a cell. Hardened by 3 years behind bars for running cannabis farms, Lunt didn't charge in blindly. Instead, he moved with a predator's caution, rebuilding his influence in Wavertree's shadowed corners, alleyways off Picton Road, quiet estates under sodium streetlights. His goal wasn't just survival, it was to forge WAVO 420 into a disciplined syndicate, a machine built on loyalty, strategy, and invisibility. Lunt's first move was to tap into Wavertree's pulse, where trust was rarer than gold. He shunned flashy gestures, no loud boasts in pubs or reckless deals that would draw rival eyes or police raids. Instead, he worked the margins. Hushed meetings in the back of the Grapes pub on Smithdown Road, quick exchanges on park benches in Wavertree Green after dark, or coded messages sent via EncroChat, an encrypted app that erased texts like whispers in the wind. These weren't casual chats, they were Lunt's lifeline, letting him issue orders while staying a ghost in a city alive with threats. As the Syndicate's architect, Lunt stayed one step removed from the drugs and guns that could tie him to a crime scene. In Liverpool's cutthroat drug trade, handling product was a trap. Dealers caught with a stash faced instant arrests, and betrayal was a constant risk. By orchestrating from afar, Lunt built a shield of deniability. If a deal went sour or a stash was seized, the trail stopped short of him. His recruitment was precise, targeting locals bound by Wavertree streets or shared history. Adam Bigley, a 30-year-old enforcer from Kirkby's tough Tower Hill estate, became his right hand. A loyal soldier whose grit made him ideal for high-risk tasks, like holding a Beretta 9000S that Lunt wouldn't touch. Bigley's allegiance, forged through years of street scraps and shared secrets, was a wall against rivals. Lunt's crew was a tapestry of contrasts, each member handpicked for a specific role. Alan Evon, a 22-year-old Wavertree father of 2, brought raw muscle. His 6-foot frame and fierce loyalty suited him for intimidating debtors or guarding deals. His deep roots in the community made him a trusted face on the streets. Catherine McGuinness, a 50-year-old Toxteth mother, was an unexpected ally, her quiet demeanor hiding a vital job. For 6 weeks, she stashed an Uzi and ammunition in her loft, not for Lunt, but under orders from a go-between, paid £1,000 in an envelope marked Kathy. Her involvement, likely driven by debt or the pull of quick cash in a struggling city, showed Lunt's knack for exploiting trust in unlikely places. Michael Connolly, a 33-year-old Vauxhall driver, was the Syndicate's shadow, ferrying drugs or Lunt himself in nondescript cars. A battered Vauxhall Astra or Ford Focus that blended into Merseyside's traffic. Thomas Porterfield, a 37-year-old horticulturist from North Wales, was a darker surprise. His hydroponics shops in Liverpool and Morton sold legitimate grow gear, but his expertise fueled WAVO 420's cannabis farms, and his underworld ties secured the Uzi storage, making him a cornerstone of Lunt's vision. This core, bound by loyalty, greed, or survival, was just the start. Lee Spencer Brown, a wiry dealmaker hardened by a shared 2013 prison stint with Lunt, drove cannabis sales across Merseyside, using prison-forged contacts to move product with precision. James Bennett, a Wavertree local, was the Syndicate's voice, sending daily flare texts, coded messages via burner phones to a network of buyers, advertising fresh weed with phrases like green fire in stock. Lee Jones, a Vauxhall native, worked the streets, selling £20 bags to locals in alleys or car parks, his low profile keeping him off police radar. Shaba Odita, Connolly's neighbour in Lemon Close, was a vault for the Syndicate's darkest assets: a sawn-off shotgun, a self-loading pistol, body armour, and a £35,000 stash of cocaine, heroin, and 32,880 diazepam tablets. This hoard signalled WAVO 420's ambition to push beyond cannabis into riskier, high-profit drugs. Smaller players filled gaps. Thomas Brown and Liam Ackers, both Liverpool locals in their 20s, handled grunt work, running errands, guarding stashes, or moving supplies in backpacks or duffel bags. Kieran Hodge and Max Jones, street smart and agile, tended cannabis grows or dealt directly with buyers, keeping product flowing. What held this crew together? For some, like Spencer Brown and Porterfield, it was prison bonds or a shared past in Wavertree's underworld. For others, like McGuinness, it was necessity. A single payment could ease a month's rent or settle a debt. Lunt's genius lay in weaving these threads, loyalty, desperation, ambition, into a disciplined operation. WAVO 420's early days were modest. A single grow house in a Wavertree terrace, its windows boarded to hide the glow of hydroponic lights. Under Porterfield's expertise, these sites were efficient. Water-fed systems nourished 100 cannabis plants. Silent fans masked the skunky scent, and timers ran growth cycles like clockwork, each harvest yielding £20,000 to £30,000. Success bred ambition. By 2017, grow houses multiplied across Merseyside, Toxteth Flats, Kensington Lofts, rural cottages in North Wales, each rigged with cutting-edge tech to maximise yields. The Syndicate's reach stretched beyond cannabis, dipping into cocaine, heroin, and diazepam, chasing bigger profits despite the risks. But growth brought danger. Merseyside's drug trade was a chessboard of rival gangs, Toxteth crews, Norris Green dealers, ready to strike over turf or grudges. Loyalty was fragile. A single snitch could unravel everything. Guns were the Syndicate's shield. The Beretta 9000S, the Uzi, and Odita's sawn-off shotgun and pistol were insurance against betrayal. These weapons, passed among trusted hands, weren't just tools, they were a promise. Cross WAVO 420 and face the consequences. With his crew forged, operations humming, and firepower secured, Lunt had built a syndicate ready to dominate Wavertree's underworld, its shadow creeping across Merseyside. What began with a single grow house, a cramped Wavertree attic glowing with hydroponic lights, evolved into a network spanning Merseyside and beyond. At the heart of this expansion was Thomas Porterfield, a 37-year-old North Wales horticulturist whose Liverpool and Morton hydroponics shops masked a darker expertise. His water-based systems fed cannabis plants nutrients directly, slashing growth cycles to 10 to 12 weeks. Each site hummed with precision. 600-watt grow lights mimicked sunlight. Silent fans muffled the skunky odor, and automated timers regulated watering. A single terraced house, rigged with Porterfield's tech, could house 200 plants, yielding 20 kilograms of cannabis per cycle. worth £40,000 at £2,000 per kilo on the street, to evade Merseyside police's heat-detecting drones and nosy neighbours. WAVO 420 fortified their grow houses. In Liverpool's terraced homes, they boarded windows with plywood, soundproofed walls to silence humming fans, and fitted steel locks or reinforced gates to deter break-ins. Some sites posed as occupied homes, with fake, for rent, signs or second-hand furniture, a sofa here, a lamp there, to blend into quiet streets like those off Picton Road. Porterfield's shops supplied nutrients, carbon filters, and reflective sheeting, turning basements and lofts into covert farms. By 2017, the Syndicate ran dozens of sites, cramped flats in Toxteth, terraced houses in Kensington, abandoned warehouses in Wirral for larger yields, and isolated cottages in North Wales to dodge police radar. Over 3 years, WAVO 420 produced an estimated 200 kilograms of cannabis, with a street value exceeding £4 million. At their peak, monthly profits hit £100,000, funneled into new grow tech, more sites, and a growing arsenal. Distribution was a masterclass in discretion, designed to keep Lunt's hands clean. Couriers, often unassuming figures like retirees or parents, moved cannabis from grow houses to safe houses across Merseyside. A grandmother might tuck a kilo into a Tesco shopping bag, or a father might hide product in a car boot during a routine drive. These runners used burner phones loaded with EncroChat, an app that erased messages instantly, to coordinate drops without leaving a trace. Safe houses, disguised as ordinary homes, were key. Anthony O'Reilly's Huddleston Road, flat in Toxteth, looked like any other, but police later found cannabis and shotgun shells stashed in a wardrobe. Catherine McGuinness, a 50-year-old Toxteth mother, hid cannabis and Uzi ammunition in her loft for 6 weeks, acting on Porterfield's orders, not Lunt's, for a £1,000 payment in an envelope marked Kathy. Her role, likely driven by financial strain in a city where poverty bit hard, showed Lunt's skill in exploiting trust. These safe houses, scattered in quiet corners of Anfield or rural North Wales, stored drugs until dealers like Lee Jones or James Bennett hit the streets, selling £20 bags in car parks or alleys. This chain, growers, couriers, safe houses, dealers, let WAVO 420 flood Merseyside while staying under the radar. The Syndicate's ambition soon outgrew cannabis. By 2017, they dove into cocaine, heroin, and diazepam, street benzos prized for their sedative high, chasing bigger profits and broader markets. Shabba Odita's Lemon Close stash held 32,880 diazepam tablets, plus cocaine and heroin worth over £35,000, a clear sign of WAVO 420's pivot to Class A drugs. This wasn't a loose crew anymore, but a disciplined machine. Porterfield's growers churned out product, Connolly's drivers moved it, Bennett's coded text fueled demand, and Yvonne's muscle ensured compliance. Lunt, orchestrating via EncroChat, synchronized it all from a distance, his fingerprints nowhere near the product. Guns were the Syndicate's backbone, guarding their empire against rivals and betrayal. Lunt sourced weapons through prison-honed contacts. These weapons weren't just for show. They enforced debts, secured turf, and sent messages. But their growing arsenal and bold expansion drew eyes. Rival gangs itching for a fight, and Merseyside police closing in, setting the stage for a reckoning. After James Lunt's 2016 release from prison, WAVO 420's push into cannabis, cocaine, and heroin skyrocketed profits, but stoked tensions with rivals and associates. Lunt, directing from the shadows, stayed untouchable, using lookouts like Alan Avon to scout targets. In 2010, a Beretta 9000S, later tied to WAVO 420, surfaced in 2 shootings in Scotland, Erskine and Port Glasgow. Likely part of a trade with a Glasgow gang, the attacks targeted signposts in public areas at dusk, fired from a moving car. No one was hurt, but police recovered bullet casings, logging the gun's deadly signature. On Christmas Day, 2010, in Kirkby, Merseyside, the same Beretta was used to fire at a terraced house on Roughwood Drive, likely a rival's or debtor's home. The nighttime shots, meant as a warning, shattered windows but caused no injuries. Residents' fear led to increased police patrols, with locals reporting a growing unease in Kirkby's estates. Between 2011 and 2012, the Beretta fueled a string of Merseyside shootings, part of 22 incidents that left 5 people wounded. In Anfield, Norris Green, and Tuebrook, Drive-bys targeted homes or cars of rival dealers or disloyal associates, often at night from nondescript vehicles, a black Vauxhall or grey Ford. One attack in Liverpool's Chinatown, a bustling nightlife hub off Bury Street, saw a teenage boy grazed by a bullet during a 2011 evening dispute over turf. The non-fatal shot, linked to the Beretta, heightened community alarm. On October 21, 2012, an Uzi roared near Augusta Close by Edge Lane Retail Park, a busy shopping area. At 8 p.m., 15 rounds peppered parked cars, a bold warning to a rival crew. Shoppers nearby fled in panic, and police later found a bullet with Lunt's DNA tying him to the attack. No injuries were reported, but Merseyside police ramped up patrols and began tracking the Uzi's origins. Lunt, using encrypted, likely planned these hits remotely. His name absent from the streets. On May 19, 2017, there was a calculated attack on Stevenson Street in Wavertree. Mark Gaskell, a local associate who owed the gang for drug deals, became the target to enforce payment and signal control. Lunt, via encrypted, choreographed the hit. He instructed a shooter to target Gaskell, a cyclist known to ride Stevenson Street at dusk, and tasked Alan Evon as a lookout to monitor the area. The gang studied Gaskell's routine for days, ensuring precision. On the night of the attack, the shooter approached on foot, firing the Beretta. A bullet struck Gaskell's helmet, sparing his life but leaving him shaken. Evon, watching from a nearby corner, discarded a Lucozade bottle, later recovered with his DNA. The failed hit was a turning point. Gaskell, fearing for his safety, turned informant, spilling details of WAVO 420's operations to Merseyside police. This betrayal, coupled with the shooting's boldness, marked WAVO 420 as a priority threat, sparking Operation Blush, a multi-agency effort to dismantle the syndicate before its violence spiraled further. The investigation began with forensics. A bullet casing from the scene matched the Beretta 9000S, a weapon linked to 22 shootings across Merseyside and Scotland since 2010. A still wet Lucozade bottle, discarded nearby, bore Alan Avon's DNA, pinning him as the lookout. Cell site analysis, tracking phone signals via nearby towers, placed James Lunt's phone near shooting sites and drug stashes, proving he orchestrated operations from afar. CCTV from Wavertree streets captured grainy images of unmarked cars and hooded figures meeting before and after the attack, giving police a timeline to unravel the syndicate's moves. Merseyside police spearheaded the effort, bolstered by the National Crime Agency, NCA, for its expertise in organised crime, the National Ballistics Intelligence Service, NABS, to trace weapons across the UK, and armed firearms units to execute high-risk raids. The investigation leaned on cutting-edge forensics. Ballistics tied the Beretta to earlier shootings, like a 2011 Chinatown hit that wounded a teenager, while DNA on a recovered Uzi linked Lunt to a 2012 shooting near Augusta Close. EncroChat, the encrypted app WAVO 420 relied on, became a gold mine. Though fully hacked by European authorities in 2020, phones seized in 2017 to 2018 revealed Lunt's coded orders, tersely worded texts directing drug drops or violent hits, exposing the syndicate's inner workings. Over months, investigators built airtight conspiracy charges, combining raid hauls with digital trails. This meticulous work set the stage for a wave of arrests, closing the noose around WAVO 420's empire. In May 2017, the first blow landed at Anthony O'Reilly's Huddleston Road flat in Toxteth. Surveillance had tracked him as a stash keeper, and when armed officers stormed the property at dawn, O'Reilly tried to bolt through a back window, only to be caught. The raid uncovered cannabis and shotgun shells hidden in a bedroom cupboard, confirming his role in storing the syndicate's assets. In July 2017, Adam Bigley's Kirkby home on Roughwood Drive was hit next. Tipped off by covert footage of his Wavertree Park meeting with James Lunt, police found the Beretta 9000S, linked to 22 shootings, stashed in a loft, wrapped in a black bin bag. Bigley's arrest crippled WAVO 420's access to a key weapon, sending ripples through their operations. October 2017 saw the net tighten further. Catherine McGuinness, a 50-year-old Toxteth mother, was arrested after a raid on her Upper Parliament Street flat revealed an Uzi and ammunition tucked in her loft, alongside a £1,000 envelope marked Kathy. Her unassuming demeanour had made her a trusted weapon keeper, but phone data exposed her link to Thomas Porterfield's orders. Outside her home, Michael Connolly, the Syndicate's 33-year-old driver, was apprehended mid-delivery, his Vauxhall Astra holding traces of cannabis resin. Porterfield himself, the North Wales horticulturist whose grow expertise powered WAVO 420's cannabis farms, was arrested soon after, with DNA on the Uzi tying him to the Syndicate's violent edge. His capture gutted their production network. In December 2017, Shabo Odita's Lemon Close home in Toxteth became a focal point. A raid on his property and a nearby van uncovered a sawn-off shotgun, a self-loading pistol, body armor, and a £35,000 drug haul. Cocaine, heroin, and 32,880 diazepam tablets. Odita's arrest as a key weapon and drug keeper marked another blow. Alan Avon, the 22-year-old lookout, was nabbed soon after, his DNA on a Lucozade bottle from the 2017 Stevenson Street shooting sealing his role in the Gaskill attack. James Lunt, the Syndicate's elusive architect, was arrested quietly later that year in Wavertree, betrayed by encrypted messages from seized burner phones that detailed his orders for drug deals and shootings. His calm demeanor during the arrest belied the empire crumbling around him. The final wave swept up the remaining players. Lee Spencer Brown, Lunt's prison-hardened dealmaker, was caught in a North Wales raid targeting a rural grow house. James Bennett, the Syndicate's text message flare sender, and Lee Jones, a street-level dealer, were nabbed in Liverpool safe houses, their burner phones linking them to cannabis distribution. Smaller operatives, Danny Brown, John Ackers, Jamie Hodgins, and Max Jones, fell in raids across Merseyside and North Wales, targeting grow sites and supply lines. By early 2018, these 11 arrests had shattered WAVO 420's structure, halting their drug and gun operations. The raids yielded over 10 kilograms of cannabis, digital scales, £20,000 in cash, and an arsenal of firearms, laying a rock-solid foundation for conspiracy charges in the looming court battle. From January to November 2019, Liverpool Crown Court became the stage for an 11-month legal battle to hold WAVO 420 accountable for their reign of drugs and violence. Prosecutors Nigel Power KC and Nicola Daly built a formidable case, charging 11 core members with conspiracy to supply Class A drugs, cocaine, heroin, and Class B drugs, cannabis, diazepam, alongside possession of firearms and ammunition. The courtroom buzzed with evidence that painted a damning picture of the Syndicate's operations, dismantling their empire piece by piece. The prosecution's case rested on a web of forensics, digital trails, and testimony. Ballistics experts linked the Beretta 9000S to 22 shootings, including a 2011 Chinatown attack that left a teenager with a grazed arm, its bullet casings matching those found on Stevenson Street in 2017. DNA evidence was pivotal. A Lucozade bottle from the Stevenson Street shooting bore Alan Avon's prints, confirming his role as lookout, while Thomas Porterfield's DNA on a recovered Uzi tied him to a 2012 Edge Lane incident. Cell site data, tracking phone signals via Merseyside's network of towers, placed James Lunt near crime scenes and stash houses, proving he orchestrated operations remotely. Encrypted messages, extracted from burner phones seized in 2017 to 2018 raids, were read aloud. Terse orders from Lunt directing drug drops or violent hits, like "sort the debt on Stevenson" or "move the green to Toxteth." Mark Gaskill, the cyclist who survived the 2017 shooting, turned key witness, his testimony exposing WAVO 420's inner workings, from grow houses to gun deals. Raid evidence, 10 kilograms of cannabis, £20,000 in cash, digital scales, and an arsenal of firearms, cemented the Syndicate's coordinated network. Defense lawyers fought back, casting doubt on the evidence. They argued DNA could be contaminated, Avon's bottle or Porterfield's Uzi might have been mishandled, or that cell site data was imprecise. Michael Connolly's counsel claimed he was merely a driver, unaware of the drugs or guns in his car. But cross-examinations dismantled these defenses. Connolly's Vauxhall Astra, stopped outside McGuinness's flat, held cannabis residue, and encrypted data linked him to specific deliveries. The reliability of the encrypted messages, verified by digital forensic experts, proved unassailable, securing convictions across the board. In November 2019, the court delivered its verdict, convicting 11 members with sentences totaling over 119 years. James Lunt, 21 years plus 3 years on license for masterminding drug and firearm operations. His EncroChat orders the linchpin of the case. Catherine McGuinness, 12 years for hiding an Uzi and ammunition in her Toxteth loft, her role betraying her community's trust. Michael Connolly, 14 years for coordinating drug and weapon transport, his low profile unmasked by forensic traces. Thomas Porterfield, 13 years for managing cannabis grows and securing firearms, his horticultural expertise turned to crime. Alan Evon, 13 years for his lookout role in the Stevenson Street shooting, sealed by the Lucozade bottle. Adam Bigley, 6 years 9 months for holding the Beretta, a key weapon in the Syndicate's arsenal. Anthony O'Reilly, 5 years 6 months for storing cannabis and shotgun shells in his Toxteth flat. Shaba Odita, 14 years for keeping guns, body armor, and a £35,000 drug stash in Lemon Close. Lee Spencer Brown, 6 years 6 months for driving cannabis sales across Merseyside. James Bennett, 5 years 6 months for distributing drugs via coded flare texts. Lee Jones, 3 years for street-level dealing, a smaller but vital cog. Minor players Jamie Hodgins and John Ackers received 6 months and 27 months, respectively, for limited roles in the drug supply chain. The convictions shattered WAVO 420's empire, silencing their hydroponic grow houses and dismantling their network of Berettas, Uzis, and sawn-off shotguns. By late 2019, Wavertree streets exhaled a cautious relief. Shootings dropped sharply, and open drug deals vanished from corners like Stevenson Street and Picton Road. Community groups, empowered by the verdicts, partnered with schools like Wavertree, Church of England Primary to launch anti-drug workshops, aiming to guide teens away from the lure of gangs. Yet, the scars of WAVO 420's reign lingered. Addiction gripped families, with local clinics reporting a 20% rise in treatment seekers, and new crews from nearby Toxteth and Norris Green circled a power vacuum, eyeing Wavertree's turf. Operation Blush's triumph, weaving forensics, covert surveillance, and multi-agency resolve, offered a model for crushing organized crime, but it laid bare a sobering reality. Prison sentences alone couldn't uproot Merseyside's deep-rooted drug trade. The trials drew a line under a brutal chapter, but Wavertree's fight for a safer future pressed on. Share your thoughts below. What will it take for communities like Wavertree to break free from the cycle of drugs and violence? More policing, community programs, or something else? Like this video if it hit hard, and subscribe to Crime Pulse for more unflinching UK crime stories.